Oh, doing all the socials. I think I got them all. I know, right? I'm trying. Well, we got more nuns to paint today. We're gonna do a few of them. I feel like, because I'm good to go for a bit. Yeah. Kind of want to work on this one, so we got a clear, nice little area. I want to work on it right here, which means we gotta do this to the camera. What's up, Undercover? What do we want to do next? Let's flat the parchment. We can maybe get deep blue down as well for the blue areas. And we gotta do some edge highlight with lilac. I think that's what we'll do. Edge highlight with lilac and blue. We'll start there. As a sucker for self-harm, I've also built all 9 of the Skyfires my buddy bought me as a tip for doing this. So now I get to sit around and keep looking at them and going, maybe I set up my airbrush real quick. Because technically these are much easier to paint than what I'm currently doing. Because I know how to sub-assemble them. The thing is, I don't really have dire need. How does this work? Oh, there it is. Don't really have dire need for them, so... In theory, we don't have dire need for any of this. This is mostly just to get this army ready for a buddy who might want to play them at some point. I can always hold off doing them until I eventually make my pre-orders for my defilers, which I still don't know how many I want. I don't really like looking at like leaks and stuff, but I feel like if we're not going to get the information soon for the stats and figures on a defiler, I kind of want to just like find them. I'm pretty sure they gave us the stats and figures though for the Nightbringer. I mean, I guess. I don't really want to, like, do too much political stuff over here. When you say world champions, are you talking about 40K stuff? Or which one are you talking about? Because it's not just that. Evo apparently had a really low turnout for, like, the players. And, like, people from foreign countries and stuff. Which, I mean, that is what happens. When the general messaging of the country they're going to is, don't be foreign. It's not uncommon. I think there was a person who posted about, I want to say, a competitive tournament where they were kind of screwed over because the teammates that they were going to bring in from, like, Germany or something, or Canada, couldn't cross the border because they were just getting denied passports or something, or denied entry. Jack's dead? No! What, is he, like, blacked out in your room or something? How much of Jack's loss into Max was, like, dice roll? Because I know he tried to deal with... He tried to, like, chip down the 8-bound a little bit. And did, like, wait. Car accident? Are you kidding me? Holy shit. I don't know if I want to talk about the game in Discord. Oh, damn, he is just talking 226. No, yeah, he set up on the line because he's slow, like he's Death Guard, but I don't know if you set up on the line into Corn Berserkers. But that might be a skewing thing. Like, I don't know if he knew the variable value of the damage output of Corn Berserkers into Death Guard. This is a ridiculous model, by the way. Like, look at this nonsense. Look at the ripples. This is what I get for choosing to do undercolor. Screening for stuff coming in, or screening for, like, I feel like screening has multiple meanings, and it's stopping stuff coming in or stopping stuff from getting to your important things. Or at least covering your important things. Yeah, no, I was there for the tank swing. I don't know why he put his Predator on the front line. Predators can have enough range that they can sit on the back line and just pop in where needed. So that's something maybe I gotta go over with him, or we gotta go over with him. You don't need to have the thing on the front line. He could almost run a Predator the same way we got Max to run the frickin' fuck. Forge Fiends. Yeah. Yeah, we can set up a better... I can't believe I messed up my days. I would have been there friggin' the whole time. Although I was dead goddamn tired when I got home, so that was probably for the best. Yeah. It's just difficult to pull it off without, like, good positioning. And the advantage I had into your Harlequins wasn't just that your Harlequins couldn't do shit to me, but also that 1,000 Suns are a lot faster than you'd expect with the units that should be very slow. So being able to move Terminators 10 inches a turn, kind of horrifying. Yeah. Because if I didn't have double move, my Terminators wouldn't have been in mid turn 2 like they were. They would have been in mid like turn 3. You would have had more time to space. And then just all 6-inch deep strikes is a little much. Into an army that can't even, like, stop it or have counterplay into it. It's so brutal. Like, whenever JW hit me with his Subterranean Assault with the 6-inch deep strike on his, like, really big melee monsters, and I can't stop it, it's just like, ugh. I got nothing, man. I think the next step with them, I mean, we can run it back with them, but I think the next actual step with them is figuring out best deployment for army in the mindset of what's your best deployments when you don't care about your opponent, and then what's your best deployments when you know your opponent has rush down versus you know your opponent is gonna, like, sit back. Since you can get a feel for the lists in a way when you see your opponents, and you can just be like, oh yeah, he's not going to go forward all that much, or oh, he's going to rush onto points with these big heavy tanks and then sit still, and you kind of have to factor that in to, like, what's on the field, what can sit out. Like, I'm living in a world where there's a chance that when I get my EC defilers, I'm going to be leaving them in reserve most of the time on the top of the game. Because, like, something that big with that big of a disc is something I would much rather bring in via, like, a rapid ingress after I've cleared area out. No, yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, I feel like we're at the point where Harlequins need an alternative Harlequin unit that's more designed for punch rather than fodder. Because, like, your basic Harlequins are okay into fodder, but no one's really playing fodder. That's not a thing. You need punch. Or they need to like adjust it so that Harlequins can be like a 20-man squad for cheap. Because Strength 4, AP 1, Damage 1 needs to be an ocean. Yeah, the only reason my Strength 4, AP 1, Damage 1 on my Infractors worked into a the frickin' Nightbringer is because I had a 10-man brick with a lethal leader doing it, who had good damage himself. That was the only reason I got him down to like 4 wounds, was just because it was 42 attacks. Like, that's what did it. Had I spiked a little harder and had he down spiked his saves a little bit, I could have one-tapped a Nightbringer. Yeah, charge devs on bikes, 100%. They should have kept them. I don't know why they got rid of them for you. The fact that Zangor and Lighten get charge devs. What's the melee? So what's the melee profile on your bikes? What was it? Because I didn't notice it. Because you rolled it and then we just moved on. Because it didn't work. Because I think my Zangor Enlightened are cheaper than you, and I think they have better stats. I don't know about Tank Shock for monsters. Maybe an alternative? Or maybe make Tank Shock be like, tanks roll their toughness, monsters roll this or something. I don't think they could make monsters roll strength, though. If they made monsters roll strength, monsters would be so strong. Frickin' Strength 14 Fulgrim, Tank Shocking you. Four attacks on 3, Strength 6, AP 2, damage 2. I think you're the same. You're the same profile, but with +1 to hit. But the thing is, I can give my Zangor Enlightened Shaman, which make them hit on 3s, and they have charge mortals. The thing with NIDS is that, yeah, do the NIDS have one for themselves, right? Like the detachment meant for monsters has their own version. I gotta cut this freaking thing off. Hang on. So, in the list I have in mind for all of the discs and stuff that I'm planning on getting, currently, I don't know if it's going to persist into the next iteration of the game. But currently, the way it works for me is if I go into the Demon Detachment, I'm going to be able to take 6 of them. They move 10 inches. They have charge mortals. They have a Shaman for the +1 to hit. He actually has a decent anti-fodder blast attack. And then if I have Screamers nearby, they have a 4+ invulnerable into shooting. So they kind of have your same thing in shooting. And if I want the -1 to hit that your bikes have, I pay a command point. Sulfur. Sulfur just gives them -1 to hit. And they're cheaper than your bikes, I'm pretty sure. Damn, we got POD in the friggin' music? Okay. We are the youth of the nation. And in that list, I get the charge mortals on the enlightened, and then I get the move over mortals on the frickin' screamers, which is insane to me. You want to talk chip mortal? 10-inch move and 14-inch move with the ability to move over mortal and charge mortal. This notion where if somebody moves out like their distraction Carnifex Norn into the middle, and then all of a sudden you get 3 squads of 6 for move over mortals, and then 3 squads of 6, technically 7 because the main guy gets it too, charge mortals into like a Norn or something, just to like put it down to like almost no wounds and then finish it off. It's dumb. It'll never work. I want to be clear. I know this won't work. I'm saying it as like a it's funny situation, but I'm not like, yeah, this is going to work every time. No, it's not. I'm going to have like one moment with this list where it works out, and then everyone will be like, wow, and then we'll like high five and then go get like food or something, and then that's it. Like, that'll be the end of it. Yeah, but when the people I play against will hear what I'm telling them with the charge mortals and the move over mortals, and they'll be like, cool, and then they'll just put all their like fodder units at. So if they released a bike leader for you that gave you lethals, that would be awesome, because that's so the bow and arrow bikes that I have lethals. That's huge. I think my spear wielders might have lethals too. Let me double check. I don't know if they do. I know they have precision. Thousand Suns. Yeah, they just have precision. They have precision and lance specifically, which you said you didn't have lance. That blew me away. I was like, what? What do you mean you don't have lance? Let's do Aldari Emerald for the book cover, I think. Yeah, like, I don't mind you getting a leader that gives you lethal, because that's the trade-off. You get a leader that gives you lethal, which gives you a target that I could precision out. That also makes it so you have another thing on the field that could be scoreable for Assassinate, which means you have to debate what you're doing with it at all times to be like, do I want to give him the points for Assassinate? Am I cool with that? So, like, it's there. Like, there's rationale behind the pluses and minuses of getting a bike leader. The same issue I have with taking all my leaders in my other list, but I'm at that point where I'm just like, I have to do it. Although, depending on my points left over, I might give one of the shamans my once per game 2+ invulnerable. I want to be that guy that sends in a squad and then just 2-up invulns it. Specifically, it's just for the leader. But that's a great way for someone to be like, oh, right, no priz. And then just not get it. No. I'm gonna have to redo that. Keep forgetting to order Pro Acryl. I keep forgetting because the Pro Acryl I have, despite feeling like there's nothing in it, constantly gives me more paint, and I don't know why. Green book. What do we assess next? I think we do the parchment. That's fucked though. Jack getting in an accident. No, yeah. It always sucks. Because it's just time. Like, now he's depending on how, like, if they declare totaled or whatever. Because he said the front's fucked. But maybe it's just a headlight. But usually if the front's fucked, they might find something that's leaking, and then it's like, well. Last week when I was leaving, yeah, I heard you made the left. But last week as I was leaving your house, this friggin' weirdo, it was at the intersection with the Acme and all that. He was like not in his car. I didn't think much of it at the time. He was outside of his car just looking at something in the rain. Then he hopped back in when the light was changing. So, you know, it's normal, whatever. But then the light changed and he was like still sitting there for a little bit. So I honked and he was still sitting there. Then he started going as I was about to go around him because all the cars to our side had finally passed. And after we got across the road, I decided to like go past him. So I went into that lane and started to just go by. And then as I was going by, he tried to merge into me. It was like, what the fuck, dude? He's got to get ready. I feel like we're going to get most of this commission done this week. This is one of 2 weeks I'm going to have where I don't have to, like, actually go out for anything. Like, I'm not going to be on, like, a weird timer. I know, right? I gotta get these guys done. I gotta get my Zangors done. Then I gotta buy 4 defilers, most likely. Ugh. The Emperor's Children one, I think, is going to be fine. Because the Emperor's Children one is like 90% airbrush work. With like a little bit of non-metallic metal. The Thousand Sun ones might be a little different. Although my process for my Thousand Suns isn't that big of a deal. It's usually just the gold that I use as like the base color. And then I just hit all the panels with Acerman Blue contrast, wait for it to dry, and then go over it with, I think like Techless was the blue I decided on. And then we'll hit, if there's yellow striping on it, we'll hit the yellow striping. The trick is, with these kinds of models that are massive, I do really want to look into, like, what bits I have. Because I have a ton of Emperor's Children bits, as well as just general Slaanesh Demon bits. As well as, like, Myrmidon shields and stuff. Like, they actually look really cool. And if I can figure out how to put them onto my defilers properly and make them look nice, I want to do that. And it's the same thing with my Thousand Suns. I've still got a ton of Zangor bits. You also have a ton of, like, general Rubric Marine bits and stuff. Like, the parts they don't give you to try to limit the amount of Rubric Marines you can make is usually the feet. So, like, you'll have a ton of chest armors, some extra arms, guns, stuff like that. So I could, in theory, do more relief sculpture work. You put them together, put them in the glass container, and then wait for the rules to not suck. They'll be in, like, 13th edition. They'll drop the rules and a new character for Harlequins. Harlequins will be meta, and you'll be like, yeah! And you'll have, like, 2 months to play them. Everyone at every event will be like, oh, you're a meta chaser. And you're going to be like, I don't think you understand, sir. I don't think you know my love for the Harlequins. Yeah, you just need them to be able to do things. You need them to have the answers to certain moments. They have the answers to vehicles. I'll give them that. Too bad Pantheon aren't vehicles. Too bad Destroyer Cult, not vehicles. Like, I'll give it. If I brought the armored list I was debating bringing, you probably would have won straight up. You would have killed all my key units very easily without any like recompense. And then like I couldn't do anything, and I'd just be stuck. All right. Are there any other seals that I'm not seeing? Baby. Elites are monsters, yep. And how does the Harlequin stuff work in regular things? Like, could you just take a regular Aldari list and put Harlequin in it? Because those Haywire cannons are freaking crazy. I would probably always try to pocket one Haywire cannon squad. Because even if my opponent doesn't have tanks for the moment, then you've got your, you've got your Fire Warriors and stuff. But then you could just, like, use those bikes to go places and do things. Because you still have the mobility on them, and then they'd be okay for that. And then once in a while, when you get chucked a tank list, you're just like, oh yeah, I've got my assassin squad. This will just pick a target and kill it. And then all Wraith Knights. Is that a pouch? What the fuck is that? Is it a shoulder armor? I think that's a shoulder armor. Is that a shoulder armor? I think it's shoulder armor. Oh no, it's like a metal. Okay. Looking at that, it's actually different. Which is cool, because it does kind of frame the face. There we go. Okay, let's think. Think. Let's get the flesh started, which always sounds weird to say out loud. I feel like the best way for you to play Harlequins is to put forward a metric ton of money to buy a lot of Harlequins, and then a bunch of, like, other stuff to then merge them together. So you can have fire dragons, but then you just put the fire dragon guns on the Harlequins, and then put them on the large bases. And then you're Harlequin themed, but very much not a Harlequin army. Maybe we get the gold in. It's the only thing slowly stops the ache. I need to clean this out. I've been telling Aaron to get the fluorescence that I use, because he keeps talking about wanting those really bright colors for his guns. He's like, how do you do that? And every single time he asks, I'm like, golden high flow fluorescence. he's like, okay, cool. And then he buys like a whole different thing than what I tell him. And he's like, it's not that bright. Like, you still haven't bought it, dude. So I finally linked it to him yesterday. And he's like, all right, I'm getting some. Hopefully he applies them like I told him how. He's got to make sure the white's down first, or it's not going to look that good. And he has Pro Acryl. Abdominal fleur-de-lis. All I got is inside. Let's do this as a giant medallion, I guess. Ugh, phone call. There we go. I'm gonna have to do some corrective, I think. Weirdly, the corrective that I've been doing for this that's been working, it's kind of cool. I just use the neutral gray that I apply second usually. It's a little too light. Like, it's not exactly perfect, but then I apply my Seafoam speed paint, and it pulls it almost perfectly to the slight blue shade that the armor is. Just make sure I don't gotta hit any other spots. Do you have a rosary? No, weirdly the only character model I've seen out of every single one of them that doesn't have a rosary on her. I kind of want to go ham on these Nundums, though. Considering where I have them with the burgundy and everything, I think we have to do the silver first. Like the undermetal. We'll do this silver as well, maybe? Yeah, we'll do it silver. Now, if I was psycho mode, I would paint the inside of this helmet a fluorescent color and then try to make it look like it's glowing outward. So that's something we might do. Now that I've said it out loud. Is that a rose? That's the rosary. There it is. It's on this model. Ah, crap. We'll fix that in a second. Fix. Keep forgetting they have robes on their arms. Like, I've painted so many of them, and every single time I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta paint their arm robes. Every single time. Baseline the hair over here. Yes, we baseline the hair pink. And we go back over it with gray and white. Push the pink to the shadows. I think we'll do the doves in purple like I usually do. Doves. Dry. Next step is maybe the silver. Oh no, got a little bit of gold there. So I gotta try to get a little bit of this blue. behind here. Gotta be a little careful. Belt. I see the bullet holes on here, which means we might actually pull out a little bit of the Blood for the Blood God technical paint. Alright, let's get some silver in here. Whoa. I'm trying that chicken curry theory of adding, instead of like boneless chicken breasts or chicken thighs or whatever, I'm putting, near the end, I'm going to be putting crispy chicken tenders into it. Try to get that crunchy curry. Actually going to try to make this look like a chemical vial. I don't want to pull up War Games Live. Just leave it on mute on my side monitor. Actually. Tau Empire versus Imperial Knights. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Let's work a little on the gray. Then into the white. Let's actually get some of the white prepped a little bit better than it currently is. brush on some white like a whisper. There we go. Let's work up the robes on the arms. Then we'll get the burgundy down on all the burgundy components. With the burgundy bookmark. Gun armor. Rosary. We'll apply the blood for the blood god at the end, I think. This is a really wild model. I actually really like this model. The more time I spend on it, the more I'm like, oh, dude, this is cool. Let's do short truce. Where's my short truce? We need to do short truce, we need to do a little bit of the red. But the red isn't a fluorescent, the red is Mephiston. I'm gonna put that on the eye lenses. Short truce, we need to kind of thread the needle. We'll do the flat short truce in a bit once the basing color is on and dry. Where's Mephiston? What do we do with the chemicals? I think I need to pick a color. It's not going to end up being burgundy. It's probably going to need to be a color that's not really on here. Maybe we'll just do Blood Angel. Or, hear me out, Chad. Doomfire Magenta. trick is to sort of paint it sort of to the level. Lenses, and the arm and the devices, maybe the little buttons. For then, we can pull out the Seraphim Sepia, fix the book up, hit all the parchment paper. What's up, Francois? through this highly ridiculously detailed tiny model. We're coming up on the end, I think, for this. We'll probably move over to the more mechanical approach to the NUNS. Let's get the wires painted. I'm going to need to use the red lens technical paint and maybe the green. Flayed one flesh on the faces. Go back in with some Reichland later. So that dries up a little bit. blue lens on the ARM computer. Now I get to figure out where my waystone one is. There we go. Find my red, which I think I left in here. Maybe not. Where the hell did I put the red? Oh, there. Spirit stone. Get some Wild Rider, only a little bit. Try to hit explicitly the buttons with it. Rock and shade, do the shoulder mount, mechanical stuff. And we're going to tone a couple pieces of metal. Grab the flesh tears for later. Where is snake bite? Maybe skeletal. Ard coat. We're getting right up against the end for this model. Just paint Ard coat on these vials. What's up, Jack Maddox? Let's get the Reichland flesh out. Gotta hit very specific parts on the face with it. Just very key areas. Start basing, because I need to get the base done before I apply the light glow from the helmet as well as the blood. So we need a cultist robe, wherever the hell that went. There we are. It is going all right. We're going through the models. I got a bunch of new Enlighten built. Got a game in yesterday. Helped coaching a little bit with my buddies yesterday. A lot of good stuff going on. Back into the painting. There's a storm coming tomorrow, so I'm going to be kind of shut in for the couple days, and then for at least 2 weeks after that storm hits. I'm pretty good on my schedule, which means we should be getting a ton of this done in 2 weeks. Like, this should probably be done in a week or two. Preparing us for the drop of the Defiler. Around here, the projects never cease. I'd packed, actually, most of my art stuff up. I was getting ready to think of, like, doing more recordings for, like, personal battle reports and stuff. So I was kind of getting ready for it. And my buddy was like, commission! It could be cool. The trick is, like, the battle reports I'm always aiming to do are a bit more just like me playing against myself, which I don't know if that's interesting to people to watch. Like, it's just I'm the only one that really has time to, like, sit down and actually get that done. I don't really have a big enough spot here to get a full-on recording area together. Get people over here to play. There's an area that I think I could do it in. But that would take a bit of purchasing power. Table. Hanging lights, the equipment that would need to get put up. Just move the cameras that I have over. Gotta get the area around this helmet done so it can hopefully dry in enough time for me to do some glazing airbrush of chartreuse for lighting. Not airbrush, but dry brush. What am I going to paint on my next stream? Honestly, don't know, but we got a lot. We're probably going to try to get into these a little more once we're done this one. And there's no way in hell I'm finishing these. There's a lot of them. So, that'll probably be next stream as well. Because if I can get these nundums done, I'll feel pretty good. And what do you mean tools? Like, are you, like, Are you speaking more on behalf of like places to go to like watch stuff and learn things? And like, what do you mean get into Warhammer? Just the lore? Are you trying to get into playing? Trying to find local spots? Because there are tools for pretty much all of that. If you're trying to find a local spot, I would probably suggest getting into BCP. Although I don't know if they're going to like merge that and change its name or something. Seems like two companies have basically merged. But BCP is usually a great way to find where like events are happening, which usually the events happen in places where leagues play a bunch of games. So that's kind of a way to like find more players. I mean, game and hobby aspect, the only tools you really need is kind of the app for the rules, brushes, paints if you're looking for hobby stuff. I'd suggest maybe trying bigger things like the airbrush because it's more accessible. But, I mean, it is an expense to get into right off the rip, so if someone has one that you know, maybe try it. See if it's something you'd want, because there are like pretty good cheap ways to get airbrushes. Like I said, the app called BCP, it's a Best Coast Pairing. Could be a good way to find other people in your area to play. That way you can try to like get into a group, see how it works, see if it's even worth getting into, because like sometimes the groups you'll find maybe don't match what you're looking for, and if that's the only group in your area, you can try to make one yourself, or, you know, just decide against. Because that's the big thing. I mean, this is a game of, like, other people, right? You're gonna have to interact. And not all communities that people build are made to withstand like new people coming in. We've had some good stories though, people finding good groups so far, so it's been nice. Alright, we'll do the short truce. Actually, I have so flat short truce for this. Get the glazing medium with it. Hobby aspect, there's a ton of YouTube channels you can watch that'll show you interesting techniques like slap chop, which I just knew as dry brushing when I used to do it way back in the day, before they tried to put a name on it. Because you just use regular stuff after that, like rulers. I mean, you can just have a ruler. You don't need like a Games Workshop branded ruler. They do sell them, but you don't need them. Wait for it to dry a little more. Kind of stippling the glow. From the inside of the helmet. Let that chill for a second. Yeah, but I mean, tools-wise, you get a good enough ruler. I highly suggest the rulers that auto-lock, where when you need to press the button, that's when it'll draw back. Those are usually a pretty good idea. Over, like, the regular ones where you have to pull out, then lock. You can get those for pretty cheap. Let's get the blood for the blood god on here. Get it to pull up a little bit. And a little from the mouth. Hell yeah. Blood for the Blood God's a pretty good technical paint. Because it kind of dries a little gooey. You can always water it down a little to get it to run more. B for the BG. Glowy helmet. Like Like, strongly dislike? Not really. Look at this. Look at this nonsense. Like, what do you mean dislike? The way they play, what they stand for in the lore. What are we talking about? Because, I mean, be aware that, like, pretty much all Space Marine Legions are not, like, good. Right? There's an underlying thing in all of the Grimdark of 40k where pretty much everything is evil, either through action or apathy. The way they play. No, nothing really stands out. Because, like, you gotta understand, I play Thousand Suns and I play EC, so I love, like, bricks that slowly move around and screw with people, as well as really fast-moving, relatively hard-hitting things. I love those. And most Space Marines play that way. There's cooler adaptations of it, too. Like, I love that the Salamanders are quick, but also very hyper-focused on usually fire-based weapons. So, like, your Meltas, your Flamers. I kind of like that adaptability from the Space Marines, because Chaos is usually very much like, alright, I slowly move towards you and I shoot, or I run at you as fast as possible and I swing. They don't really get, like, the in-between. They don't really get hyper-uniqueness. I think the most unique you get is when you start adding in, like, weird things like demons to the mix. And at that point, I mean, that's kind of cool, but sadly in the current meta, it's not that great. Although Carnival from EC is okay. Where the hell did my slippers go? Ooh, BRB, I gotta cut up my chicken. Drakari they're as a faction pretty cool. As what they are, I could take it or leave it. I mean, they skew towards chaotic evil, so, like, you never really know what's happening with them. It's, like, more awkward than anything else. But yeah, I will be right back. I gotta cut up some chicken, throw it in the crock pot, and then I gotta get a couple things done. Burb. Actually, holy crap. Why did my burb thing go so small? There you go. BRB. All right. Crispy chicken tender theory is in full effect. You don't got the double monitor, bro? All right, let me take a picture of this. So normally when I make chicken curry, I do the whole like boneless chicken breast. I cook it all together in the crock pot. But my buddy suggested chicken nuggets, and I was like, yes and no. That's Greg. If you've ever watched any of my videos, this is it. It's me and Greg. Of this. That's a statement. Curry's always good, unless it's bad. But yeah, that's Greg. He usually makes an appearance in most of the videos. He'll wander around. Sometimes he's doing dumb stuff. All right. Let's get into these silvers. Post some of this stuff up. we go. Posted. All right, what do we do? What do we do with this? The Nundum. I think maybe we go in for the metals. We can probably also grab these and start doing the metals as well. Grab their leader, check some details, make sure we're matching. Okay. If we're following what I did with the leader, then it is mostly gold, which means we would want a gold now. Because the only things that really get metallic are the arm joints and the gun barrels. Okay. Addicted man could not save my life. One strength. Don't know peace till you've had suffering. Here we go. I liked Old Mushroom Head. I was one of those idiots. I heard New Mushroom Head. Not impressed. So the inner frames are gold. It's mostly the ball joints. I think on these we'll do this stuff in silver as well. The leader doesn't really have these, but that would be better for them to be separate as silver. What do you mean? Like fully augmented units? They don't have access to that. They are personally augmented. They have their own systems for life extension and strength increasing and all that. But they don't really have access to like the Space Marine Gene CD projects and stuff. They have access to the weaponry, but I mean, so does the Imperial Guard. No, yeah. Hive cities are pretty interestingly designed in terms of like lore. They were pretty cool. At least cool in the fact that they were decided on as like a common occurrence in this universe. They had that one game where you got to be a bounty hunter in a hive city. It was supposedly, like, pretty interesting. Not a lot of people really liked it, though. Let me see what the belt is supposed to be like. I did gold for the belt. Yep. It makes for a good setting. For, like, absolutely heinous things happening. Because it is about the tightly packed nature of just existing. Everyone kind of knows everyone, sees everyone, but there's still shadows that they can do horrible things in. That's what makes it all the crazier when someone who's like in control of one of those areas is suddenly like, what? A cult invasion? It's been here the whole time? Creates pretty fun systems like that. Imagine wandering around a city that you're very familiar with and just seeing graffiti one day and not even thinking twice about it. But that graffiti is just like trying to summon demons. That's crazy. I like so if I was looking to make money, it would just be about Space Marines. Because I mean that's just kind of how it works, which sucks. I am still a huge advocate of trying to like see other elements of the universe, right? I love the idea. Oh, the feet need to be burgundy. Okay. I love the idea of games that give you a very vivid and detailed look at like other factions. Even if it does like stick with the Imperium, like what Rogue Trader did. Still very much Imperial, but you got to experience an Aldari that was like lost, right? Like she was just not part of any craft world anymore. She was trying to figure out what was going on. You got to experience kind of how the Mandrakes fight, the whole oddity of the Harlequins. I love experiencing that kind of stuff. So trying to organize a game or story in some way to give a down-to-earth first or third person view of something crazy that isn't really explored as much. Because, like, Space Marine, the game, did a good job at, like, simplifying things. Like, there's not a lot of depth or detail, and you're being run at by Tyranids. You're being run at by orcs. Chaos is somehow involved, and it's basically just you versus you with horns. I'm a little disappointed that they didn't go crazy in Space Marine 2. I was really hoping at some point you'd be in like a city fight, right? You'd be fighting something, and then you like look down an aisle or just one path, and then you see like a Biotitan kind of coming at you, like a Norn or something, and you're just like, oh god. And then they're like, backups arrived, and you see like an Armiger come ripping through like a wall and just taking it out. Like the grander scale. I like that they added the Biotitan later to give you a piece of the grand scale, but it's still like the Biotitan was so far away from you the whole time. The Titans you see were in the graveyard planet, and they were like in the massive distance away from you as just something sitting there. It would be so much cooler to have those things in that universe, like moving around and doing stuff. So imagine playing a game from a perspective of like an Imperial Guard. And you just happen to be on a planet where the Tau's like, well, they didn't want to ally with us, so we're going to wipe them out. And now you're fighting things that are like fading in and out. Like, the approach of the game would feel so interesting to the average player, because it would basically just be like World War II simulator, but you have a laser rifle. And then all of a sudden you're fighting these like weird alien creatures. Yeah. But you get to experience the universe. And the thing is, you could be a main character. Like, you could be like one of those weird main characters where you're going to end up being like a really powerful commissar or something. To the point where, like, at the end of the game, maybe like a custody shows up and is now your bodyguard because they had some psyker had a vision of you being necessary for humanity to win. Like, the introduction to that approach to the Grimdark universe. Just being like, yeah, this happens. That could be interesting for people. Just weird little things that they could touch on. Because Space Marines praise, but Space Marines still basically just Gears of War with a different skin. It's just simple. Because, like, despite Fire Warrior's shortcoming, the PS2 game that they put out, I thought it was really cool to at least approach some of the universe from the perspective of, like, a different faction, experiencing the way they interact, even though there is that undertone to their faction of, like, mind control and stuff. Yeah, the original Space Marine was fine, but again, I mean, it was just orcs for the most part in that early bit. My question is, was it Space Marine where you get to ride on the back of the Titan, or was that Fire Warrior? I think that was Fire Warrior. I'm trying to remember, and I think it was Fire Warrior, because you're fighting Chaos Space Marines at the end. You're allied kind of with a Space Marine force at the time, which is very peculiar that all of a sudden they're just like, oh, we're your friends now. Like, that was not well written. But, like, the Space Marine Force finds out that the big secret of the city that they were working with was that they did have a Titan hidden. Ugh. They could have done so much more with Space Marine 2. It was fine for what it was. Tech Marine's finally in. Maybe that could be cool. Like, experiencing maybe the perspective of the world from the Tech Marines. Or from the Mechanicus side. Like, if you want to do a game to try to keep people interested, maybe do a game involving, like, a Space Marine going through the rites to try to become a Tech Marine while, like, certain wars are happening or something. Maybe he gets deployed with the AdMech. So you work as sort of like a Tech Marine, Space Marine alongside AdMech and all of their insanity. Because, like, some games do Space Marines, I think, a little more interestingly than others. Like, Rogue Trader. You get introduced to a Space Wolf a bit through the game, and he kind of acts just like a person who happens to have power armor. Which is interesting. Like, it's a little less of the glitz and glam of Space Marines, and they're like reverence for the way they act, like kind of just being like above things. He's more just like a dude who likes to drink and has like a suit of armor. It's basically Iron Man. And you get to experiencing it in an interesting way, because he was technically captured by a Drakari and trapped in Kamertage. That was kind of cool. Oh, that's what we could do. Imagine a game styled like The Witcher, right? The Witcher 3 specifically. Third-person camera, action-oriented, class tree, stuff like that. Hyper-detailed, interactive world set in a hive city. But not just a hive city with like a wasteland nearby. So there's kind of like multiple floors of the hive city you can go between. The higher end area meant for like royalty, or royalty in quotes, the clergy and all that, the slums, the sort of like the underhive area that's like kind of ruined. You can meet friends, do missions with them. Do I thin my paints? Not really. Well, I know people freak out about it. This is contrast, though. You don't really need to thin contrast. You can water it down for slightly lighter application. But contrast is already really flowy and kind of thin. When it comes to using my sew flats, sometimes I thin them. I'll either thin them with just basic water, or I will thin them with an actual medium. I have a satin glazing medium that helps thin it down a little bit. But like, this burgundy I'm using here is a contrast, so it's already super watery in the first place. No real reason to thin. At least not for what I'm doing with it. It can be a good idea to do it because some stuff is just really thick. Like really thick. At which point you might want to invest in like dropper bottles. Like you can just buy bottles like this. You can then, I think the way people usually do it is they take the Citadel paint, they put a little stuff to thin it in it so that it like makes it more liquidy, just a little bit. They kind of mix it on like a vortex mixer and then exchange it to one of these, and then usually put a little mixing ball in there so you can try to mix it up. That way you just have always thinned paint basically in a side bottle, so you don't have to keep thinning it once you start using it. All right, let's get the gold on back here. My favorite paint brand right now has been Golden. With a little bit of work, the Golden stuff feels interesting to put on. It has some of the best paints that I know of that can go into airbrushes pretty much immediately out of the tube. Which, as a person that likes airbrushing, is awesome. My favorite contrasts are actually Army Painter. I'll use Citadel often, but most of the contrasts I get into with Army Painter feel a lot better. I should probably not paint these till I get the robes done. Ooh, what's going on in the game? Tau Empire 47, Imperial Knights 45. Whose turn is it? Currently top of turn 4, which should be Tau. So if Tau are at 47 at top of turn 4, and those knights are where they are currently standing on screen, I don't know if Tau's getting this. So there's a... You're on YouTube right now. There's a guy called Wargames Live. He's awesome. He does a lot of traveling around all kinds of GTs, and he streams games. He's funded mostly through his Patreon, and he basically converted a U-Haul into like a mobile apartment that stores all this stuff, and he just travels around. So there's currently a game going on called the Cherokee Open. It is a GT. It's a multi-day tournament. And currently Tau versus Imperial turn 4, and it is a close game. So it's fun to watch. I'm gonna need a good layer brush. Tower kind of in an okay position, but yeah, there's too many knights sitting on top of them. I think they just got stat checked. Not enough stuff to stop them and then kill them. Alright, Maddox. I'm trying to think of when I want to hop off. I know this song. Specifically talking about the one on Twitch. Why do I know it? It feels familiar, and it's still, I'm like, who the hell is this? I think I might hop off. Maybe. Kind of hungry. Kind of want to chill and watch this War Games Live stuff. But yeah, I think the next couple days are pure nundums. Which we have 6 to do. Yeah, kind of hungry. Don't want to put more gold in the little palette here. I'm not going to use it. But yeah, we finished up 1 very detailed model. Now we're going to do 6 very detailed models. You know, as the storms kick up. I might try to off-stream these Repentia. What? Twitch bot. Bam. Yeah, hungry. We've got a lot to do, though. All right. Till tomorrow, guys. Don't forget there's a Discord. That's where I usually say when I'm going live. It's usually the better place to catch when I'm going live. So, yeah. Later.